Sigmund Freud dreamt that he was young again.
And Jung dreamt that he wasn't a Freud. And Carl and Siggy both, what the heck is going on here? Hello.
It's just a... Greetings, prisoners of gravity. Let's talk about dreams. Dreams are gateways to magical realities, which makes them a natural vehicle for fantasy fiction. Alice in Wonderland, Dorothy in Oz, Bobby Ewing in Dallas. I watched a Twilight Zone festival the other night from a little station out of Regina. They promised 10 classic episodes in 5 hours, so I tune in, and 4 of the first 5 ended with, boink. Oh, it was all just a dream. 4 of the first 5 episodes. I dozed off. But some writers, like fantasy author Charles DeLint, use dreams for more than just an easy ending. Nevermore. Why are dreams so important in your fiction?
You see, this is something else that people have pointed out to me, and I've actually got a little self-conscious about that now. I go, uh-oh, there's a dream sequence happening here. Maybe I shouldn't do it. I guess, you know, to be real honest with you, it's, in one sense, it's convenient. It's a convenient way, especially if you're writing a contemporary book, it's a convenient way to get out and do something weird without breaking the rules of the real world, in a sense. Also, the whole idea of dreams, I just like the idea of, you know, we were talking about Sandman comic. I mean, that's the world of dreams. There's something about dreams that's fascinating. You know, you wake up in the morning, or you're having this dream, you wake up, and it's just the most amazing thing. You know, the most wonderful things happen, and probably in the space of 2 minutes, but it felt like, you know, 3 years you were in that dream. And it blows me away how quickly it fades, how quickly it's gone. It just sort of, you know, it has a real kind of that whole sense of fairy about it, because it's one of the things in fairy a lot of people would forget immediately. You know, it's an amazing occurrence. You can't believe that they would ever forget it, and yet something to do with some of the glamour of fairy is that people forget about it. They lose it. Dreams are the same way. And I guess in a way, books are like dreams, you know, except that we're controlling them.
Actually, you can control your dreams. One way to end a cycle of nightmares is to turn and confront whatever is chasing you, which is good advice for real life, too. That feeling of being helpless to control events, of memories slipping away, was captured by Kim Stanley Robinson in his story, Before I Wake. Scientists fight a constant losing battle to stay awake against a mysterious force that's overwhelming them. Reality slips into unreality. Action drains into aimless wandering, gives way to apathy. Memories fade, paranoia, claustrophobia. This short story comes closest to catching the bizarre dream logic, the weird cascading imagery, and the terrible ennui of nightmares. Of my nightmares, anyway. Another writer who gives people nightmares with his nightmares is Clive Barker. Weave World, Cabal, and The Great and Secret Show are horror stories involving fantasy, but with his new book, Imagica, Clive is a fabulist whose fantasy incorporates horror. The setting is very complex. Earth is one of 5 parallel universes called Dominions, and Clive's characters leave Earth, travel through the other dimensions before returning home. Clive's imagery is at its vivid best, and the book is laced with dreams.
The book is very much about shamanism. It's very much about the shamanistic journey in one way or another. Shamanism affects me and interests me more and more. And the idea that of the shaman, and the parallel between the writer or the artist and the shaman, the person who is elected by the tribe, or self-elected in the case of the writer, to take a dream journey on behalf of the tribe, to go into some dreamscape and return from that dreamscape with information which will be useful to the tribe, philosophically, metaphysically, socially useful. That's a very intriguing drama. And what's happening in Imagica is that a character, in fact, several characters, are taking that sort of journey and coming back with various kinds of information.
Why does the shaman have to go into a dream landscape for this kind of information?
The shaman goes into a dream landscape as opposed to going to Poland or, you know, Melbourne, because the levels at which he can interpret the world are at least as much metaphorical as actual. And, you know, reality can be, that is solid, unmetaphorical reality can be reductionist. But when you need insight into what's going on inside you, or maybe insight into the relationship you have with the universe, with the larger world, those hard lines, the fact that the chair is the chair and you are flesh and they are separate things, becomes almost offensive. It makes me feel claustrophobic. I need the insights that I can get from going into a world in which these kind of definitions soften the way they do in dreams, in which you can be both in the chair and of the chair. In our century, we've become somewhat preoccupied by the idea, particularly in literature and in movies, of seeing the world in a certain kind of way and valuing its solidity. Not really wanting to tear the veils open, not really wanting to peer beyond. And the fantastique, science fiction, fantasy, science fiction, horror, are genre which have always celebrated the tearing of veils, have always celebrated the possibility of going, stepping beyond the solid and into the dreamscape beyond, because there was more truth, and a capital T here, in the higher reality, capital H, capital R, of the dreamscape than there was in the so-called real world which the writer was leaving.
Shamans aren't the only ones who can find meaning in their dreams. Last year, I managed to downlink to horror writer Peter Straub. You might remember we talked about his novels Coco and Mystery, and I asked him how his dreams influenced his writing.
Oh, that's a good question. Nobody ever asked me that. Sometimes dreams speak to me very directly about what I'm writing. Not because they concern, in a direct sense, the characters or settings that I'm writing about at the moment, but because in an elusive, metaphoric way, they tell me what to do next. The best example of this is in Coco, when I had a dream that really told me something that I already knew but had forgotten. And it was so powerful a moment that I put the dream right into the book. I had forgotten that when I was planning Coco, that I'd given Michael Poole a dead child. He was much more grotesquely formed because of Agent Orange in the early version than he turned out to be in the book, when he simply seemed retarded, mildly retarded, and developed brain cancer. Anyhow, I had Michael Poole in a terrible marriage that was really frozen in some sense. There seemed an unimaginable, almost inexplicable degree of bad feeling in that marriage. And I was very far along in the book. Anyhow, I dreamed of a small boy and a rabbit, the boy's side, standing along the side of a road, holding lanterns. In the dream, these images came from a painting called Into the Darkness that I had stepped into, and I was driving in a car down the road, down this road, and I saw far ahead of me these two lanterns, and when I drove up, there was a tender boy of about 5 or 6 holding a lantern next to a rabbit, his size, holding a lantern. The next day I wandered around, I was doing some shopping, and I remembered the dream, and I thought, that's Michael Poole's son, and he's dead, and that's why their marriage is so terrible, because they never forgave each other. They never got over the unhappiness. Anyhow, the dream struck me as so beautiful, anyhow, that I put it straight in the Coco, months later, when I reached an appropriate point. But when I had that dream, I knew that I was on target.